So let me first start where I agree with you before I get into where I disagree with you. First, I agree with you that whatever MTA funding we do, we cannot put a burden on the city to pay half the capital cost. We need to come up with a solution that raises the capital dollars for the entire region here in Albany. As you know, and this is where I'm going to get where I disagree with you, as you know, the MTA is facing a $1.6 billion deficit in 2022. The suggestions, to be perfectly blunt, I think it is disingenuous to say that you would support a congestion pricing plan and then talk about the number of carve-outs that you've suggested today, because we know that at the end of the day, with those carve-outs, we will end up not raising nearly enough revenue. With a traditional congestion pricing plan that charges around $5.76 for folks crossing the East River bridges or 60th Street, we'd raise about $1 billion. We would still need at least an additional $600 million to really fully fund a 5-year capital plan that includes the Fast Forward plan, as well as make sure we fulfill all the other obligations that the MTA owes. So how do you plan in a legislature that clearly is not looking to raise taxes on millionaires and congestion pricing being the only viable option, to come here and say, yes, I may support congestion pricing, but I want a number of carve-outs that will reduce the total revenue of that, and we will not get anywhere near the amount of revenue we need by 2022. And as you know, congestion pricing will, take 20% of CO2 emissions from cars out of the air. It will make our streets more safe. How is this not the progressive plan for right now? This is what moves 6 million New Yorkers every day who are disproportionately lower income than those folks who drive into Manhattan every day and park.
Well, Assemblymember, look, I appreciate your honesty. I would disagree with you respectfully. I don't think it's disingenuous in the least. I'm someone who has had real concerns about the different plans that put forward. I understand the hopes that people have associated with those plans, and there's some very commendable elements. If we really do have a plan that reduces congestion, helps the MTA, addresses in some way global warming, those are all very important elements. But the concerns I've raised are real and tangible. I do not agree that you can't have some valid carve-outs. I just don't. I don't think they have to debilitate the funding stream. I think it's a balance point. I think there's a way to figure out what is a fair hardship exemption and what is not. What does it do to our revenue? What revenue we need? I also believe firmly...
Well, we know what revenue we need, respectfully, Mr. Mayor. We know that we need to get somewhere to $1.6 billion, and we know that a congestion pricing plan with no carve-outs only gets us $1 billion.
Well,
so where is that hardship cap?
Assemblymember, first of all, I would argue there's a real open question about what amount of money is needed each year in light of what we've seen in terms of real MTA spending and the real concerns that a lot of us have about the efficiency levels of the MTA. I think that's a different question than what grand total we need, but I think there's an objective, fair question in the coming few years, what amount is needed each year. I do think that's open. But on your bigger point, I also firmly believe there's not going to be one specific plan that covers all of it. I wish that I've heard people say millionaires' tax is not on the table for a lot of people. I respect that. I still think it should be given a look, but let's say you put that aside. What about internet sales tax? What about some portion of marijuana revenue? What about a state transportation bond act? We are going to need some combination to get where we need to go either way.
Mayor De Blasio, I agree with you that there needs to be some combination. But how can we get there when the single largest revenue source, which is congestion pricing, before we even get to that, we have carved it to death where it will not raise nearly enough revenue? Wouldn't you think that the progressive plan would be the plan that's for the environment, the plan that's for safe streets, the plan that's for 6 million New Yorkers who take the buses and subways every single day, to have a full-fledged congestion pricing plan so that we can get the largest amount of revenue for our subways right off the bat, and then figure out how we can get internet sales tax, how we can get taxes on marijuana, how we can get additional revenue?
Respectfully, Assemblymember, I think if I'm asking for real consideration for hardship for working New Yorkers, for example, with chronic
working New Yorkers take the subway, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Working New Yorkers, they do.
Assemblymember, respectfully, if a working New Yorker has a chronic medical condition or is disabled, a senior who needs to go to the hospitals in that zone regularly, I'm sorry. There is a valid discussion of a hardship exemption. It does not debilitate the revenue source. I just disagree with you.